Hi guys, hope you're having an awesome day. I wanted to do a video series this week about eating organic. I started my fitness journey, as you guys know, a couple years ago. And when I started, I was so conditioned to eating a certain way. Like I had always done, other things like Weight Watchers and Atkins and a lot of like fad diets and things like that. So I had been conditioned for so long thinking that I needed to eat like fat-free, sugar-free, carb-free, like all that kind of stuff. And then it wasn't until a friend of mine actually introduced me a few years ago to the book by Jessica Alba, Honest, God, I can't remember the name of the book. But anyway, I started learning about clean eating and like what it meant to eat organic. Before that, I had never, I don't know, the concept of eating organic and all that kind of stuff just kind of blew my mind a little bit and overwhelmed me. And so I read Jessica Alba's book, and it explained a lot, but I still had a lot of questions. Like, I just didn't know what I should be eating organic, what I shouldn't be eating organic, because it's expensive, right? Like, you go to the grocery store a lot of times, you can find inexpensive organic foods now, but, for the most part, if you're buying all organic all the time, it can get pretty pricey. So I started doing some research into it, like, a couple years ago, and I really kind of got educated on what foods I should be eating organic and what I should, and how I can kind of cut that grocery bill a little bit. So I want to share some of that with you guys over the next couple of days. I'm going to break it into kind of bite-sized chunks, just because, I don't want to overwhelm anyone like I was in the beginning. So, so first I wanted to start with just kind of talking about like what organic food is. So, to kind of keep it simple, like if you think about the concept of like just basically food that is as close to, or farmed food that is close to its natural state as possible. So, organic foods do not, legally, they cannot include chemical pesticides, chemical fertilizers, and then, when it comes to protein and things like that, anything injected with hormones or antibiotics. So it really is like the food in its most natural state, as close as possible. I mean, there are some instances where there are some fertilizers used and things like that, but there are regulations on the types of chemicals, or not even chemicals, the types of fertilizers that they can use. And so now, like obviously the USDA has regulated it so much that, when people abide by their regulations, I'm not going to get all the details on that kind of stuff, but when the companies are abiding by those regulations, they can use this USDA organic seal on the product. So when you see that seal, you know that it is truly an organic product. So that is like one way, obviously, to kind of describe what organic is. Something that is as close to nature as it was intended to be. So, I mean, it's pretty easy in terms of that. So when you talk about like packaged foods, though, like I love to feed my kids love like organic mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese. My kids love mac and cheese. We all eat it, but I usually will buy the organic mac and cheese. But packaged foods are a little bit different because packaged foods have to contain, in order to get that organic seal by the USDA, they have to have 95% or more of their ingredients have to be organic based. So that's kind of how they regulate that. But there are still other packaged foods that can claim to be organic, but if they don't have that seal, it's because they have 70%, they have to have 70% or more to be, 70% of the ingredients have to be organic in order for them to say that they're organic, but they're still not USDA certified organic. So it's a little bit different. So, if you have any questions, feel free to post them while I'm talking as well. But when it comes to like, a lot of people ask me, well, are organic foods healthier? The answer to that is yes and no. So there have been a lot of studies that have been run on whether or not they are healthier for you or not healthier for you, whether they have more nutrients in them or not. There really isn't, a firm answer in terms of nutritional value. But when it comes to what you're ingesting, the chemicals that are included in the fertilizers and the chemicals that are, included in the pesticides, you're ingesting that when you're eating the food. Like even if you wash it, and I will get into this more in a few days on which foods are better to eat than others, organic or non-organic, but you know, some foods are more porous than others, so they may absorb those chemicals more. And so, you know, you're ingesting, even if you wash your stuff really, really well, you're still getting a lot of those chemicals in your system. And over time, you know, that is going to take a toll. I mean, there have been a lot of studies done that a lot of those chemicals do produce cancer and other types of illnesses. So, you know, in that regard, yes, they are healthier to eat because you're not ingesting that. When it comes to like steak or beef and chicken and things like that, you know, a lot of those animals, if it's not organic meat, are being injected with hormones and antibiotics. And so the hormones can have an effect on your system, especially for like babies and things like that, if you're not giving them organic baby food. But also the antibiotics can create like an antibiotic resistance in humans. So, you know, over time, if you're eating that kind of protein, that kind of meat, beef or chicken that has those antibiotics in it, you can then be, you know, taking that in yourself, and it can cause like you to be resistant to bacteria and antibiotics. So when you take those antibiotics, it's not going to work for you anymore. I have that. I don't know if it's food related or not, but I have been on I have psoriasis and all sorts of issues, so I've been on so many antibiotics over the course of my life that I like have to take Cipro for like every bad like infection that I have because nothing else works. And you don't want that, obviously, because those medications aren't good for you either. But in terms of like nutritional value, you know, the vote's kind of out on that. There's studies that say organic food's better. There's studies that say it doesn't really make a difference. But what you really should be looking for when it comes to nutrition is actually eating local. So if you think about it, like if you're getting strawberries that are shipped in from South America, those strawberries have been picked and they've been sitting for a while. So the longer that fruits and vegetables sit, you know, from the minute that they're picked, their nutritional value starts to go down. So if those strawberries are picked in South America and they're being shipped to the United States and then they're getting delivered to grocery stores and then you're eating them, you know, the nutritional value is depleting over time. But if you are buying local, and local organic is even better in some instances, then, you know, from the time it gets picked from the farm to the time that it gets on your plate is a lot less, so you're going to get a lot more nutritional value. So again, I will talk in a couple of days, or tomorrow, or no, a couple of days about which fruits, vegetables are better to eat, and more about like beef and chicken and eggs and all that kind of stuff. I'll get into all of that with you guys so that you'll know like which ones, when you go to the grocery store, what foods you should buy organic and what you shouldn't. So stay tuned for that later on in the week. I hope that was helpful. This all stuff kind of just baffled me for so long. I just didn't know what to do, and I was actually going to the grocery store, and I thought I had to buy everything organic, and my grocery bills were so freaking high, I just kind of stopped buying anything organic. So I had to do this research because I wanted to know what I needed to buy and what I could just get normal, regular old like food, like that wasn't organic. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below, or just reach out, message me, whatever, and I will talk to you all soon. I'll be back tomorrow with another video talking a little bit more about like all the fancy terms they use, like cage-free and free range and all that good stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, but I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.